must be non-maleficial. So these are all the various qualities or various pillars of mission. Now let us have a very, very brief look upon the requirements of a mission. Number one, a strong commitment. Dhriti, what we call a strong commitment. Number two, you must be having staunch belief in what you are going to teach others. The third thing, you must have a penetrative power by which you can create the belief in the other person's minds. Number four, no compromise. There are four compromising factors in the society. Even great people, even great workaholic people, even great integral people, laborious people, diligent people, painstakingly effort-taking people, they will be lost at a moment. There are four factors of compromise. One is avarice. If some benefit is there visibly or visually somewhere else, immediately these fellows will shift. Fear, if they are threatened. Tension, threat and terror and turmoil. These things are various tools which will make the person to be collapsed and dismantled, by which the person will leave his mission. Then he will say that leaving this mission itself is his mission. Then the third thing is ego. Even lot of people, they are in good mission, because of ego clashes, they are also going to do the same good. If the same good is performed by somebody else, immediately that ego is pricked, that will be awakened inside, and that will prevent them either to grow by themselves or allow that person to grow. So these type of egoistic activities, that is also a hindering factor. And the final thing is frustration. There is no end for trial in spiritual things, even in any things, national. For example, when Indian War of Independence started and when we got independence, if those fellows, they would have great personalities, if they were frustrated, then would have we got this freedom of independence and would be been respiring or inhaling the breeze of liberty now? No. Frustration must not be there. Good things may happen at their own time and instance. So we may not be limiting this as per your desire, and you must not be frustrated, but instead of which you must be boosted more to perform and get that. So you must be devoid of these four compromising forces, and you must be non-compromisable, uncompromisable. The fifth thing is, that is the problem with great people. They are all great people, but they don't leave great people behind them. Due to which after their demise, then it becomes a problem to the society. It is known as successor breeding. What is it? Successor breeding or succession breed is a quality of good, eminent and capable system of mission, wherein by they leave equivalent or even hypervalent personalities like them, so that even after their departure, the continuity will not be arrested. That is the fifth thing. And the final thing is, even though the continuity, because they are doing something, and that must not be hindered by their departure or demise. Even though they are out of the system, even though they are out of the world, still it must exist. The final thing is, he must be a model for his ideal. Then only that impression or that impact in the society can be made. So, a good mission must have 6 qualities. One is ability to impact others, having staunch belief, strong determination, uncompromisability, succession breeding, and being a model for his own ideal. What are all the practical difficulties in bringing mission? Number one, the people trend changes by century. Decade by decade it changes. In taste, in food, in music, in office, in house, in behaviors, in social behaviors, in commitments, in love, affection, in each and every unit of their life, their trend is being changed. So they are not having any uniformity. So this trend of change, if you adopt something today, if the same mission exists, after 10 years it will not work, because the trend of the people change. So you must update also yourself towards the changing trend, and you must update your systems and modify them so that it can reach. So it is something connected with changing of trend. Second thing is a very big problem. It is post-acquisition dilution. It is a very good phenomenon which has not been properly understood. Post-acquisition dilution is, India got freedom. Till getting freedom, the zeal that was present with all the members of the society, after getting the freedom, it was diluted. That is known as post-acquisition dilution. They wanted to drive, they did not think about the possibilities of Indians behaving worse than that British colonization. They did not think about the political system which will be more corrupted. That's what the great people in Great Britain told about the great India. We are going to hand over the country and they are going to suffer. That's what they told. So, it is post-acquisition dilution. If you acquire something, you must have two things. Whatever we have acquired, that must not be reappropriated by somebody else. That must not be diluted or diversified. These two things we have to get in our memory and vigilance that was lost in the society. Whatever they get, they think that is the last scene, that is the epilogue. They think that it will be permanent and perennial, and they used to get all of their vigor, potency, everything diluted. Just as any person who is doing a very hard task, he will feel himself fly with wings. Likewise, the great struggle of the freedom psychologically created a deeper impact in the minds of the Indians that they have become too lazy, too impotent, too imbecile, too disorganized after the freedom of independence. It is a psychological term which has not been properly undertaken for research by most of the people. It is post-acquisition dilution in psychology. That is the second reason. Third thing is group politics. There are two types of group politics. One is power share. Who will share the benefit? Second thing, even though they don't share the benefit and they work for the society, ego clash, frequency mismatch. So this thing also very much affects the society, and this is also to be extirpated. And the final hindrance. The first hindrance, it is the changing of the trend. Second thing is post-acquisition dilution. And the third thing is power clash or frequency mismatch within the communities. And the final reason by which we cannot develop these societies because lack of commitment and lack of proper organization between the group people, which has resulted in the total turmoil of the society. Now let us come to century. We are talking about the century. What are the various supportive factors and what are the negative supportive factors? Positive supportive factors and negative supportive factors for the century so that India can achieve something. One is transportation. We are having transportation facilities. Before that, if you want to reach some place, it would have taken months and years together for travel and come back, if possible. So, transportation. Second thing is communication. There are communication tools by which we can immediately contact any person at any corner. The third thing is liberalization of knowledge. You are having a lot of books, you are having a lot of universities, you are having a lot of palm leaf scripts now transcribed into book forms. Everything is available in net, world wide web, www, everything you are going to see. And this is also having a dark complexion in the sense that as it has been liberalized, everybody started interpreting, everybody started informing, everybody started writing books. So it has become this global monopoly which has been liberalized and it has deep felt into the process of introduction of all unwanted elements, so that now we have to be in the process of selecting or segregating the particles of rice from the stones. Now, before that rice was there and that was put in stock and sealed. Now we are having rice in abundance. Now we have been given an opportunity to isolate the rice particles from the sand particles or stones. Now everything is mixed because of this liberalization. Fourth thing is science has given two benefits or betterments. What are the two betterments of science? One is demystification of the world. Second is magnification of the world. Whatever the things we thought that they are great, science has proved that this is nothing. So we are demystified. Second thing, whatever we thought to be small, the science has magnified. So science has magnified this world, which will urge for us to know about the creator, to know about the system and complexities. So transportation is very accessible now. We are very affordable to all systems of knowledge. So more possibilities for spreading our knowledge, our heritage is possible now. Because the world has been magnified, God has been understood more. The world's richness and depth has been now promulgated by means of textures, by means of research articles and demonstrations, by which a deep probe into God, necessity for understanding the fundamental element, that has also been enriched. The fifth thing is multi-level education system or multi-level analytical system or multi-knowledge processing system. Now, you see, whenever somebody is denied, then at the time of denial, the depth will be evolved. For example, if you ask me to speak, I will speak only 10%. If a person is asking with a doubt, then he will answer 20%. If the person is asking with enthusiasm, I will answer 50%. If a person strongly is against my speech, I will evolve my 100% of knowledge with all the factorial grounds to prove myself. The more we are doubted, the more we are analyzed, the more we are approached with enthusiasm, the more that we are confronted, then the more hidden dimensions are revealed. Likewise, there are a lot of atheism, communism, skepticism, socialism, materialism, nihilism, pantheism, pseudo-theism, pseudo-spiritualism, etc. and etc., which has totally diluted the spiritualism, which has resulted in the evolution of a lot of spiritual personalities to prove themselves. They are bringing lot of unclear depths inside. So the science has given 5 benefits. One is the transportation benefit to reach anybody. Second is the communication benefit to reach anybody and correspond. And third is the liberalization by which we can access to source materials. Fourth is magnification facility by which we can learn more about the world and godly context. And the fifth thing is multi-level knowledge processing system.